I want to start off our introduction to the different components that Cir-kit makes by talking about the outlet that they have. That's probably the most popular one that people are using and is somewhat difficult to get into the dollhouse, but it's really a very simple operation to be able to get it to work and to operate properly. I have a few tricks that I use, and I'm going to show you a couple of different ways of being able to put it into the dollhouse. The first one is we normally would have our strip of flat tape that we have put in at 1 inch from the floor, and then we will go ahead and we're just going to put the outlet itself into the tape. But the one thing that Cir-kit doesn't explain is how do you get this thing perfectly perpendicular? And that's one of the main reasons that I came up with my gauge. It makes it quite easy to line this thing up because I can go in here. This is the mark on here that I need for Cir-kit's. It actually is marked underneath here, Cir-kit 1003, which is their wall outlet. And I can move this around to, I put a line on the floor here approximately where I want the outlet to be, and I can go in here and I can find the holes in the guide and go ahead and just make a mark in there. And then I can come back with the outlet itself and find those marks on the tape and then just push it in, and we've made a connection into the flat tape, and that's all there is to lining that thing up, and we're perpendicular and it should work just fine. One other thing that I would suggest is that when you do that, you put a little bit of glue on the back of it so that you could get it to be locked in there solidly and it won't come loose from the wall by plugging in and unplugging your plugs from the lamps that you're going to have. There's another way of doing this, though, that is even easier. And most of the time, you're going to have this wallpapered. So if we were to come across here and you have your wallpaper in here, of course you can't see where the tape run is, and you need to try and line it up for that. Again, with the gauge, you know exactly where you need to go, and you can go ahead and put your pinholes in there and be able to put it right in. Cir-kit suggests that you use their real small brads and put them partially into the wall, and then when you wallpaper, you push the brads through the paper. And it's a whole lot easier to do it this way. As long as you have your tape run in the right area, you can always come back with the gauge and put your outlet anywhere that you want to. You don't have to know in advance where you want to have it. But there is another way of doing it, and that's Mini Magic has this tool that they came up with is virtually ingenious. It really works very, very well. It has the same alignment that I do with my gauge, so it's 1 inch above the floor, which is your standard fitting for an outlet. You can just come across here to wherever you want it. I put my finger on here fairly tight, but this board's going to move, so I need to come down this way, and then just go into the wall with it until it sets it all the way in there. And you can use this anywhere that you want to put an outlet, and it's very quick and it's very easy to do it. There's if you're running the flat tape all the way around. If you're wallpapering, you're covering that flat tape, and that's how you would go ahead and do it if you've run the flat tape at 1 inch all the way around the dollhouse, and you have your outlet wherever you want to. If you're wallpapering and covering the flat tape, that's not a problem, and you can easily put your outlets anywhere that you want to. But there are a lot of times when I don't want this flat tape on my wall because I want to have a painted wall or something like that. So let's take a look at this side where I've have the flat tape. I have put it on the floor instead of on the wall. I'm going to mark where we want to put the outlet on here, and we'll again use our gauge, and I'm going to come across here and we'll go ahead and do the same thing and just put our holes in here. And if you noticed on there, I actually have done that already. That's on here, but instead of just hammering that in, I am going to take the drill and I'm going to drill those marks all the way through. So we're going to drill that one and that one all the way through. I then am going to take from the other side, I'm going to take some of my Kynar wire, which I have stripped the ends off here, and I'll follow the same regiment that I normally do. I want the red on the top and the black on the bottom. So I'm going to come from the other side and I will put the red wire in the top hole and the black wire in the bottom hole. And I'll just fold them over on that edge right there. So we just folded them over on here. Then I will take my outlet and then I can line this up and push that in there. And that had the bare wires are touching now the prongs that are on here, but I have a perfectly smooth finish that's on here. We've got our outlet in here, and I'll turn this around again. And we have our wires that have come through onto this side. Now we had our tape run that's on here, and if you notice, we have the black wire is right through the black stripe that's on here, and the red is on the red side. This is live, we know, because we wired the dollhouse so that that strip would be live. But that goes to show you, you don't have to put the strip on both sides. This side we decided was going to be wallpapered on this wall. The other side we wanted to paint it. So I can make my solder connection directly on this side here. And what I will do is come down here and kind of clean off the mylar coating that's right around the wire, and then introduce the solder. And that just locks right onto the wire there. Do the same thing here. Just clean that mylar coating a little bit. Introduce the solder. Just hold it there for a few seconds and it just flows right onto the wire. I want to bend it over here so we get the wire coated. Then we'll take our cutters here and we'll just cut off the excess wire that's right there. And we have it wired on this side now. So we have our outlet that was right here is just on the bare wall. It's wired on the opposite side. If this happened to be on the first floor, we actually could drill straight down in this corner right here, down into the basement. And we could run our wires down into the basement side. I will quite often take a drill and drill at a sharp angle and go straight down here, because when you put your molding up here, you only have to clear this amount of area, so we could go on the other side and actually come through someplace here on the opposite side of the wall and then continue with the wires down, and it would be completely covered with the molding that's on here. So let's assume that we're on the second floor and we need to bring our wires to the flat tape that I have put on the floor here. I have the wires coming from the outlet that we have on the opposite side of the wall, and you can see the wires are coming through here with the red on the top. But what I can do, that I'm going to show you a little trick on, is I can use my Dremel, and I can route a little bit of a groove down the wall and then across here. And what I like to do, because to eliminate the bump that you would have from the soldering, I'm going to pull back my tape that's on here and give myself a little bit of a line that I can see. And I'm going to route and then we're going to come up the wall What I've done is I've cut a little bit of a groove here, and I would have done this before I had put the tape off. But I can come across here now and roll that into the trough. Go ahead and finish putting this across here. Now these wires are long enough that I can bring them down and over, and what I want to do is I want to solder them then to the black to black and the red to red. So I'm going to take my soldering iron and grab my solder, and I can just clean out the bottom of the trough with both the red and the black. And I'm going to put a little bit of solder on both of those runs. And then I can come back with the wires, and I'll start with the black one on the back side there. And I'm just bringing the bare wire part that I'm going to bury into that first puddle. And I'll pull up the little excess wire that's right there, snip it off. Now we'll bring the second red wire down. Line it up so we have the insulation coming over to where the puddle is. And I'll just bury the bare wire into that section there. We'll cut off that little end. Now I can bury the wires there we go. All the way back here and on up the end there. And then I use drywall compound over this, it'll cover it and let it dry, and then lightly sand it, and you're perfectly smooth on the wall and onto the floor by putting the little bit of a dimple down on the bottom here. And that's all there is to connecting up those outlets.